Hey everyone, so this is the second video in our series about the nervous system. And in this video, we are going to talk about the peripheral nervous system. You may remember from the first video, this idea of the nervous system, which is broken into two branches, the central nervous system, which we talked about in the first video. And now we're going to focus on the peripheral nervous system. So the peripheral nervous system is comprised of two branches, the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is comprised of two more branches, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So the somatic is indicated in blue, and it controls voluntary muscles and conveys sensory information to the central nervous system, which again is the spinal cord and brain. The autonomic, which you may hopefully you can see this, these red nerves here, you may see that they're basically connected to involuntary muscles such as the heart. And those two branches, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, can basically be, you can think of them as different in the sense that one expends energy, which is the sympathetic nervous system, and the parasympathetic nervous system conserves energy. So for the first branch of the peripheral nervous system, the somatic nervous system, we have axons conveying messages from sensory organs to the central nervous system. And then we also have messages coming from the central nervous system to muscles. So in this picture here, let's get a little closer. This is an example. So this part of the brain, the motor cortex, is indicated here, and it basically is showing how information is going from the brain down to those muscle fibers, okay? And so you can kind of think of that, of the opposite as well, that we've got messages coming from sensory organs up to the brain, okay? And just a little reminder here from our first video, this part of the spinal cord, you can see we've got that sensory nerve, which is that dorsal or entering side, and then the motor nerve, which is the ventral or exiting. So that's just a little refresher from that, which we talked about in the first video. So now let's go on to the autonomic nervous system. So that's where we have the neurons that are receiving information from and commands to the involuntary muscles, the things you don't really have to think about, like our heart. Most of the time, we don't really have to be thinking about, is our heart beating, because it's just automatically doing that, right? And also we're talking about intestines and other organs that we may not necessarily been thinking about when we're just going through our day-to-day lives. So this image really basically breaks down the differences between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems, okay? The sympathetic nervous system is also known as the fight, flight, or freeze because it's most activated when we're responding to some kind of danger or what we perceive as danger. And the parasympathetic is basically the exact opposite and is often referred to as the rest and digest system. So let's blow this up a little bit so we can take a look. So when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, we have dilated pupils, inhibited salivation, bronchial dilation, meaning that we're getting more oxygen to the lungs as the bronchial tubes are dilating, an increased heart rate, inhibited digestion, stimulated glucose released by the liver, stimulated epinephrine and norepinephrine, relaxing of the bladder. In extreme fear situations, you may see that people urinate themselves, contracting of the rectum, and orgasm and ejaculation for the reproductive or sexual system. So basically, you can see what's going on with the sympathetic. And when we go over here to the parasympathetic, you can see that it's basically the exact opposite happening. So constriction of pupils, stimulation of salivation, decreased heart rate, bronchial constriction, stimulation of the digestive system, stimulation of the gallbladder, contracting of the bladder, relaxing of the rectum, vaginal lubrication or erection. So basically, you can kind of see that in most cases, the exact opposite is happening, with the exception of the reproductive system. You see that for most things, the opposite is happening between these two systems. So that's a summary of the peripheral nervous system and the branches that it has, and then which are again, the somatic and the autonomic, and then within the autonomic, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Thank you so much for watching, and hope you have a great rest of your day.